Hi, I'm Shelby. You mentioned briefly about sort of a new funding format for this. Can you talk a little bit about what inspired that change and how this new format will impact the subjects?
Sure. Oh God, that's a good question. So look, I think all of us who've been in this industry long enough, whether we're funders, whether we're artists, whether, whatever capacity, we know the system doesn't work, right? I'll give you a number. This was told to me by, I won't name the organization, but the average documentary that Netflix buys is paid for $15,000 to $25,000, right? And that take global rights. So imagine how much time, life's work, energy, resources goes into making a documentary, right? So that's one example. The system is broken for many reasons, from funding all the way to the others. And so, as you heard my life story, I try to get to places. I don't sit there and wait for things to change around me. And when I became a funder in the arts, I realized that we had to solve things in a much more profound way. And so one of the things, I've lived a career where I've worked in Hollywood, I've worked in the art world, and one of the things the art world does is that they sell editions of a work before a work is made. And I think this is something we can use in order to fund more traditional media, cinema work, et cetera. But specifically when you're working outside, but that's not enough, because still, who buys editions? There's people with a lot of money who want to donate things to museums and have things in their name, have things in their collection as an asset base. That's not everyone. So what we did was we took the digital edition model. We took the edition model and we created digital editions of the work. Those are split into a finite number of collectible in web, so you can own it like an NFT, but mature NFT, not the old NFT of 10 years ago. So you can own a piece of that work, let's say for $1,000 or $500, whatever the artist wants to set it at. That allows you to pre-sell a portion of that work to an audience that can afford it, that wants to support it, et cetera. It lowers the cost of entry to something that's a lot more accessible to people. And then what we're doing, working with one of our friends who is here right now, is to build a digital app that allows you to download that work, let's say at $20, $30. And then you have it like a vinyl on your phone. You can project it on your television through your projector. You can share it with your friends. If your Netflix subscription doesn't run out, no one takes it away from you. It's like a vinyl, right? And that the economics of the app then go to, in part, to the indigenous communities that supported the film, in part to the artist community equally that were behind the project, and in part back to the people who bought those $1,000, $500 digital editions to repay them for their even make some money, right? So it's a way, and the app is peer-to-peer, so it's not sitting on AWS. You don't have to. You can distribute 4K, amazing sound, without having to pay those costs, and it allows to build a bottom-up network as an artist to be able to sell directly to your audience and not have to wait for gatekeepers and not have to wait for those. And so this doesn't necessarily solve all the problems, but what it does is that it allows for economics of that there's reciprocity, because it isn't. Right now, subjects don't get anything, and that's a problem. Right now, artists don't get anything. They used to, but they don't even get anything anymore. And so the money stays somewhere else if you get distribution, if it gets out there. And so this allows for a lot of work to be liberated from the shelves, a lot of work that people want to be liberated from the shelf and around, and especially for work that is tied to economics. Sorry, this took a long time. No. But I'm happy to answer this more afterwards if you want.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
I'm Shazad Ismaili. I wanted to ask a question based on a different kind of creation. Do you have kids?
I do.
So that's my question. Oh, great. Hi, welcome. So have you ever thought about, I totally agree with you that the traditional structures are completely demolishing and being uprooted and disappearing. So have you ever thought about not sending your kids to school anymore because many of the schools are built on the assumption that we're training them to live in that world that will not exist? And so as a father as well, I'm curious about that.
No, I haven't thought about it, no, because I think I wish I had, look, do we have the means to not put our kids in school? Then what happens to them when they're not in school, right? So I think the unfortunate reality of the life that we live in is that, you know, how do you then, where does the time come from? Who has the means of being able to homeschool their kids or spend time with them? What happens to the socialization? Because for me, look, I went to school in the middle of a war and a revolution. There were 70, because all the war refugees had come into Tehran. I had like 76, 77 students in my class. I hardly saw them. We got our ass kicked every time we didn't do homework. Like, it was bad, right? But I'm okay. So I don't really put that much value in school, to be honest with you. I think the value of school was the friends I made, the friction that I survived. I believe we removed way too much friction from our children. I think children need friction. So at the very least, you know, school is going to provide them with proper friction, and they have to, you know, they have to navigate. They need to be able to navigate those things. And so, no, I really haven't thought about it. Not been in a place to even think about it, because I really believe in them being out there and surviving whatever the world is. You know, not what I imagine or want it to be.
I have a question for you, Mahyad.
Yes.
Because I have the pleasure to work alongside Mahyad in a shared space, and I've seen him work on Kura, and it's just beautiful to see him, like, how this work is evolving and, you know, unfolding. What's your dream for Kura?
So my dream for Kura is next year, hopefully, during Climate Week, and then following that, the London Climate Week, that we have an installation that we will design that'll be a sort of, think of it as a maloka, a shared community space that's typical to the Amazon that you'd enter. You're surrounded immediately in one of the most beautiful canopies of the Amazon. Just as it's getting dark, when the sound is unbelievable. You think New York is loud. New York ain't got nothing on the Amazon. It just sounds soothing, even though it is madness of life, explosion. There's a hammock structure, almost like a tensile webbing structure that you climb on and you lay down in. There's a screen, large screen floating above you. You're sitting within a 12-channel canopy of sound. We're recording 96 megahertz, so it's beyond what you can audibly hear. And that's the reason why you're laying on that hammock structure, because all of the low-end frequencies are connected via excisors to the webbing of the hammock. So you're feeling all of that low-end frequency connecting to your back, and you go through this vision, this nonverbal vision that is meant to interoceptively work with your body somatically, and to shut down your analytical mind. Right? The idea is for you to put this away and to allow your body to consume this. And the reason why is because the journey will take you through shadow. You'll see the people who are burning the place on the ground. You'll be right there with them. Hopefully, I'll be there in September filming that section of it. We've been preparing for a year to get there and do that. The burn season happens between the end of September and October. That's when suddenly people go crazy. You'll go through shadow, but you'll come into community who's around these fires, who's in this place. And you see their joy and how they live together, how they live with this forest, their relationship with this forest. And you sort of go into abstraction and you come and land in joy and hope, and that's the idea. The idea is that a lot of good work has been done with climate work, but that work has made us anxious, right? All the facts and data has crippled us. And what I learned from the indigenous was that fear doesn't work. Guilt doesn't work. When you see them struggling, they respond to it with joy. They're resistant, they're powerful, but they never let that joy go. And that joy is critical. And the idea of the work isn't just to inform you, it's not to inform you at all mentally, it's to inform your body that your own ultimate healing is interconnected with the forest. This is something that the indigenous throw around like it's everyday knowledge. The kid will come and tell you, you're not going to feel better because the forest is sick. Well, we're running around trying to heal ourselves in an ecosystem that we're a part of that is hurting. And I think that's the understanding that I hope to cure in all of us, is that A, cure our eco-anxiety, and B, make sure that we understand that that nature isn't something outside of us, it's something within us, and we can't truly heal ourselves until we heal the planet. And these two things need to happen simultaneously.
Well, that was beautifully said. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.